We talk all the time about an athlete's stats, their championships, their unbelievable skill. But sometimes, the most unforgettable thing about a player is something they had no control over at all: their name. Today, we're going to dive into some of the most unique, powerful, and, let's be honest, downright strange names in the world of modern sports.
And this quote just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? I mean, a name can be an athlete's real legacy, a part of their identity that just sticks with us long after they've hung up their cleats.
Because a name isn't just a bunch of letters on a scoreboard. Nope. Sometimes it really feels like it was written in the stars, like it was perfectly aligned with an athlete's fate.
And I mean, come on, is there a better example than this guy? The fastest human in history, and his last name is literally Bolt? It's so on the nose, it almost sounds fake, right? It's a name that just perfectly captured the electrifying speed that made him a global icon. Talk about destiny.
But this brings up a good question. It really feels like we're hearing more and more of these incredible names. So is that just a coincidence? Or is there something bigger going on in the sports world?
Well, the answer is absolutely. Globalization. As sports leagues have gotten bigger and bigger, they've stopped just looking for talent in their own backyard. They're scouting every single corner of the globe. And when you bring in global talent, you get this amazing explosion of global names and cultures.
And you can really see it mapped out here. You've got Giannis, whose Nigerian surname became a household name in Milwaukee, of all places. Zaza Pachulia, bringing that Georgian flair to the NBA. And names like Cespedes and Chu, which introduced millions of us to the sounds and rhythms of Cuba and South Korea. These aren't just names, you guys. They're origin stories.
All right, now for the fun part. Let's break down some of the most fascinating categories of these weird and wonderful athlete names. We're going to move through these pretty fast, so hold on.
So first up, we've got names that aren't just labels. They carry these deep, powerful meanings from their home cultures. And a lot of the time, those meanings perfectly reflect the athlete themselves.
Just take Ndamukong Suh, one of the most feared defensive linemen of his generation. His name literally translates to House of Spears. I mean, you can't write a better description for a guy who spent his entire career just blowing up offensive lines.
And this one is another perfect example. We all know him as OG, but his full name, Ogugwa, means the eagle in the Igbo language. It's a nod to his Nigerian roots. And wow, what a fitting name for a player known for his insane wingspan and bird's-eye view on defense.
Okay, next category. The names that give sports commentators nightmares. The ones that force the jersey makers to use like the world's smallest font. These are the true tongue twisters of the sports world.
And here are some of the all-time champions. You've got Gerard Saltalamakia, who holds the record for the longest last name in MLB history. Socrates Papastapolopoulos, a name so long that in England his jersey just said Socrates. And the legendary Jan Vennegoor of Hesselink, whose name was so massive it often had to be printed on 2 separate lines. Just incredible.
Sometimes, though, a name stands out not because it fits so well, but because it's the exact opposite of what the athlete does. Let's look at some of the most beautifully ironic names out there. This is just too good. On the left, you have Winner Anacona, a professional cyclist who, despite that amazing first name, was usually a support rider, not the actual winner. Then on the right, Ciro Immobile, one of Italy's most dynamic and constantly moving strikers, whose last name means motionless. The irony? It's just perfect. Okay, now we get to the heavy hitters. These are the names that are just beyond categories, the ones that are so unique, so out there, that they become legendary just for being so wild.
I mean, seriously, where do you even begin with the St. Brown brothers? Their father, a bodybuilder, gave them these incredible names rooted in philosophy and Egyptian mythology. You have Equanimous, which means calmness under pressure, and his brothers Amun-Ra and Osiris, named after all-powerful Egyptian gods. These aren't just names, they are statements.
So, let's go from the mythological to the administrative. Picture this, a 280-pound Samoan rugby prop, one of the most intimidating positions in any sport, is running full speed right at you. And his name? Census. Census Johnston. A name you'd expect to find on a government form, not on a player whose job is to create absolute chaos on the field. It is just brilliantly strange. And finally, let's head over to the LPGA Tour for a name that, while totally normal in Thailand, became famous for making Western commentators do a serious double-take. Pornanong Patlum. Now, while the first part of her name might raise an eyebrow for English speakers, she carried it with absolute class and dignity throughout her entire successful career, representing her country and her culture on a global stage. A total pro.
So, after all the fun and games, what's the real takeaway here? Well, it's that these names, as funny or hard to say as they might be, actually tell a much deeper story about what sports look like today.
Here's the crucial thing. These names are way more than just trivia. They're a symbol of a globalized sports world. They carry stories of Cameroonian, Nigerian, or Samoan heritage right onto the field. They make us rethink what a normal athlete's name even is. And at the end of the day, it's the greatness of the athlete, the sheer dominance of Sue, the incredible skill of Antetokounmpo that takes a strange name and makes it iconic.
It's a pretty powerful reminder that what first seems strange can very quickly become legendary. So I'll leave you with this. Next time you're watching a game, think about the stories behind the names on the jerseys. Which one is going to be the next to stick with you forever?